Hey y'all, it's me. I just wanted to first say happy Mother's Day to all y'all out there that are moms, whether you're a stepmom, a foster mom, a grandparent that's taking care of their grandchildren, all of y'all. I hope you had a wonderful day. And I do think moms should be celebrated like at least once a month. But anyways, I want to talk about the Becca Scoops and the thou who shall not be named situation because unfortunately I was around back then when this all broke. So, disclaimer, I had never been in like a Discord or seen like a live chat like Morbids before. I always liked true crime, but I would watch things like That Chapter, Bailey Sarian, stuff like that. So I was new to it, and I loved it. For like, I was like, this is awesome. This guy's funny, and he breaks down the cases and stuff. But I did not realize how easily it is to trust the wrong people and also get like into some ish unintentionally, and part of drama that you did not want to be involved. Yeah, that sucked. I mean, I finally, like a year ago or whatever, I deleted Discord totally, and I was like, I am just gonna stay in my little bubble, my little secure bubble. But let's go back to over a year and a half. I'm talking fast because I know y'all don't like long videos. I had seen the video that Bree made about Becca Scoops, right? And I'm sure, like the rest of y'all, yeah, I was shook it. I was like, what? And I also didn't know if I believed it. I was like, what? Becca sounds so professional. But at that time, she was starting to kind of show her true colors on Morbid's panel. She liked to make fun of my looks a lot and my lips and stuff and how unintelligent I am. But whatever. Point is, I didn't know if it was true or not. So I Googled her name because her name was in a Facebook group I was in. It wasn't hidden. So I looked up just like the podcast off of Fidelis Radio or whatever, and I looked up the articles that she had wrote. And that is, look, that's definitely not doxing. And I know a lot of people are like, they'll use public information and still they're like, it's not doxing. Look, everything's public information if you dig like deep enough. Okay, but that's just, I'm not like that. So, point is, I just Googled it. I found it. And y'all, I haven't listened to it or read any of this stuff since. And it still, to this day, affects me. It was bad. Like, really, really bad. It was homophobic. It was racist. It was Islamophobic. It was terrible. Terrible. For example, I still remember this. Her saying that, she would always refer to Obama, his presidency, as the Obama regime, and talked about how the whole country was going to be overtaken by Muslims, and not just that, but that people who were Muslim or Islamic, that they SA their own daughters and nieces. That's disgusting to stereotype and say stuff like that. But anyways, that just was gross. And then the person who shall not be named then sent me the information about the Linwood Vikings, and I was like, well, this confirms what I was already thinking. But since then I've thought a lot more about it, and I'm like, well, maybe she had different opinions from her ex-husband, or maybe she's changed her mind about certain things and opinions. But y'all, the reason I fight with even like believing that is because first off, the lady, like her ex or Twitter account, whatever you want to call it, she claims that Trump gave her like a title or / award or whatever as his social media warrior. Okay. Just like she also said that she was a, like, I think it was staff sergeant at the police department and helped start the program of helping new classes that graduate named after the people that had fallen, the officers that had fallen. If you say so, I don't know. I didn't look into all that. I'm not thou who shall not be named. You know, which I don't know how, like, she looks into the stuff she does. I would never think, like, oh, let me look into the ex-husband and the current husband and da-da-da. I mean, same with the Cajun Navy Gen stuff. Y'all, I did not, like, do all that digging. I don't even know how to do my own taxes. I have to do H&R. You guys really think I'm on the IRS website looking into Cajun Navy Gen? Really? I mean, I'm not a moron, but hold on, my husband's here. Okay, sorry about that, but yeah, it was really, really bad. My nerves are shot, so I may be pausing to do something. I'm not, I can't put on TikTok, but at that time, I kept my mouth shut after speaking to a good friend of mine because we talked about it, and sorry, I'm a little sick still. And at that time, y'all, remember, it was like you're either for us or against us type situation. Like, the big content creators, like, who were against Gypsy, like, they were all kind of cliquish, and you couldn't speak out on them. If you said anything, they would have, like, trashed you or probably kicked you out of the whole community or claimed that you were working with Gypsy and all sorts of stuff. So it was a situation where you really couldn't say anything. Does that make me a coward? Yeah, most definitely. I was very cowardly, but I had already been having, like, so much stuff happening, like with the rally, which I ended up being right all about. I was right about, like, everything, y'all, but that's neither here or there. But yeah, I was a coward. I didn't want to say anything because I knew that if I did, it was going to be not just bad for me, but there was not going to be any support. So let's move forward, right? Now that people are seeing what she really is, and I remember back when it happened, everybody wanted to know who doxed her late husband's information. Who did that? Blah, blah, blah. Like, it was like a big deal. And I kept my mouth shut. But, Becca, it's your new bestie. Like, it was her. I've got the proof. There's a reason why I've not shown the proof on here. And that's because I'm being threatened and blackmailed. Okay? Like, or I would show it. I'm going to talk to the detective tomorrow, and hopefully I can end this situation and move on. But, yeah, just by me saying, like, hey, to that person who sucks, just by me being like, no, you started that Lady Whistledown account. You made those videos. Just for that, the lady waited over a year to file a FOIA on me. Do you know how weird that is to go in that depth? I live in a town of less than 600 people, and that put me and my family at such a risk. But like I said, I put myself on here. If you want to come at me, whatever, but redact the information, okay? Luckily, I got those videos taken down because YouTube, they did violate their community guidelines, and, on top of that, like, my social security number was in it, y'all. My full legal name was in it. My address was in it. The tags on the cars were in it. My minor child's name and information was in it. My elderly mother-in-law was in the video, plus her information was in there. Like, that's disgusting to do to someone. And even when people would tell her, like, she should redact it, she told them, like, no, F you. And my whole thing is, I'm just going to go to the side a little bit about this. There is a difference between sobriety and recovery. All right, there really is. So let's talk about that part real quick, about the sobriety versus recovery thing. Sobriety is great, and anyone who gets sober and, like, is free of the addiction that they were we're literally like attached to, I amend. Like I think it's great. I think I used the wrong word. I don't think it's called amend. Whatever. I think it's great. But I don't think, people realize the difference with sobriety and recovery. Recovery is not just being free of substances that alter your mind. It's about working a program. It's about realizing that the only way that you can return back to sanity is to know that only a higher power can do it. You can't do it on your own. It's also about like understanding with addiction, it's a three-pronged thing. You're physically addicted. When you don't take your medicine, you get sick and everything. You're emotionally addicted to it, like slash mentally, whichever one you want to say. It's always on your mind, like trying to figure out where you're gonna get your next whatever it is substance that you preferred, and you're spiritually addicted. So I think that working the program is a wonderful thing because you also have to do daily inventories of yourself. Like, was I a good person today? Did I do the best I could? Who have I wronged and who should I apologize to? And also making amends. I don't feel like someone, and people get sober different ways, whether it's the rapid detox that I'm not a big fan of, or MAT, medical, like, medicated assisted treatment, such as Suboxone or the Sublocade shot or, even the methadone. But I do not feel like someone who is in recovery would dox someone else who's also in recovery 2 weeks into their sobriety. That's just wild to me because she knew that I was in recovery. In fact, thou who shall not be named, I tried to help her get off of the substances she was on, and I tried to hook her up and tell her like the different medications she could like be prescribed to help ease coming off of those substances. So continuing on though, yeah, and people in recovery like to go and make fun of Ryan Anderson for being on methadone. Y'all, a synthetic opioid is a synthetic opioid. The only difference between methadone and something like Suboxone or Sublocade is the fact that like methadone, you can still get on. You can still go use your substance and feel it. Not a big fan of methadone, but it's not that like, it's very different, but it's in the same ballpark of Suboxone, Sublocade, whatever you want to call it. And when I went through the situation of the videos being released, I remember when Case's information was out, and I believe he said his social security information was out too, his child's information, etc. But that your good friend that you keep having on your panel is doing that to me. So why is it okay that it can happen to me but not y'all? Is it because it was a warrant taken out that I didn't even know about until I filed a police report for my stolen items, which, by the way, I was found not guilty, and it wasn't a bench trial or nothing. I did a jury trial, and every juror on there watched the surveillance footage and everything, and they all found me innocent, which helped put a little bit more belief in the justice system for me because, like I said, before recovery, I've been through a lot. And 98% of us, even a misdemeanor or whatever, you will take a plea or you'll plea nolo or something because they scare you. They will be like, you can do 12 months of jail time. And that's a scary situation. And if it wasn't for the fact that my husband, who was with me when we went to Target that night, and my best friend being like, Charlie, we know you didn't do this, fight it, I probably would have pleaded out. So thankfully, that happened. Well, once again, Becca I'm just saying, she said, hey, like, I hid behind an avatar at first, and, you had no right to go and breach my privacy. Okay, sure, yeah, I do think some things were wrong, and I don't think anyone should ever talk badly about her addiction, or anyone's addiction, by the way. I just don't find that cute. But, the stories, they're not making a lot of sense, okay? Like, for instance, like I said, the Trump award or whatever, and then the staff sergeant thing, and like all these things, and I'm like, what? And by the way, I'm Catholic too, and I can assure you, my Catholic church, they don't believe the way she does. All right. So, anyways, like I said, it became a situation where everybody just had to keep their mouth shut, and I cannot imagine being one of the minorities that she like talked so badly about and obviously has a problem with, and not being able to really voice your feelings because of the backlash you would have received back then. Luckily now people are waking up and they're seeing who she is, okay? And I would show the proof right now, but I'm being threatened and blackmailed, which has now taken. Look, Georgia has a new doxing law, but there's no criminal code for it yet. So instead, we have a privacy law, which we're building on. And to then threaten and blackmail me by proxy, wow, that's just, why would you do that? Especially in public. So let me just say this real quick, and then I'm going to leave. I'm going to go watch Morbid's live. Okay. How is it that you're going to go in Morbid's chat, this crystal-1 person, and you tell me I better be nice and B and do A, B, and C, or else you're going to put out more information about me and like my family because you have more than just my FOIA like information. That's okay, great for you. Like, would you like me to go down to the police department and get my SA report that occurred like in 2000, I think it was 17 or 19? You want that? Would you like me to pull up the paperwork from the case where my uncle had SA'd me as well, and my sister? Would you like those documents too to put out there about me? Because you can have them if that's going to make you feel better. But yeah, that person put that in the chat, and I responded by saying like, okay, well, anything I've done wrong, I'll own it. And they literally were like, something about like, okay, girlfriend, if you say so, but I'll put it out like a little at a time or something like that. I actually have a screenshot of that, which I'm going to put right here. And that was last Monday. So, Thursday, I finally was just like, you know what? Let me Google this person. Like, so I just Googled the username YouTube. And guess what, y'all? Guess who she's really good friends with? You see all this on the screen now? Yeah. So, I'll let y'all look at this while I am going to sign off and go watch the rest of Morbids. I love y'all for all the support, and I appreciate it. And for the haters out there that are targeting me, if something happens to me or my family or my child, there are crazy men already that like send me messages. If something happens to me because of you too, like, it's on your hands. And I hope that you will live with that for the rest of your life. Alright, but everybody else, Godspeed, sweet dreams. Love y'all. Mwah. See you later. Oh, yeah. So, one last thing. So, Becca, she used to make fun of the way I looked and, like, my big lips. And, I do like the bleach blonde. I just had I had, like, 5 inches cut off. I may go shorter. But point is, what? After blasting me for my big old lips and stuff, why all of a sudden are you bleach blonde with big lips? It's giving Gypsy Rose copying that 15-year-old girl online. Yeah, that's what it's giving. Um, they always say that haters are your biggest fans. I don't know, because I just realized, like, her looks have changed, and she is, like, I'm not even going to say starting to look like me, because that's an insult to me. But point is, don't make fun of me about my lips and stuff, and then you go and get your stuff done, and maybe don't use a Groupon next time. Alright? It might turn out a little bit better. And then secondly, I would also like to say is, why in the world would you, when I pointed out Gypsy and Natalie Richards, when Natalie Richards did that to the homeless lady and coerced her into the pool, kind of like how Gypsy coerced someone, you said it was a skit, that it wasn't true. Well, Natalie Richards was charged with that, okay, charged with abuse of the homeless. So unless the judge was along for the ride in the skit, I'm pretty sure it happened, Becca. I'm pretty sure it happened. You might want to do a little more scooping on that one. But that's all I got to say for now. I'll talk to y'all later. Like I said, love y'all. Godspeed, sweet dreams. And here I come, morbid. Bye.